Hey, good afternoon, guys. I am your host, Rigo Murillo. Thanks for being here again for another episode of Lunch Talk. So today is Thursday, September 16th, and 2021. That's right. Still 2021. It's been going on a while. So I'm happy to be here again. Thank you guys for those who've gotten used to the show being on Wednesdays. I appreciate it. Being patient with me. Thank you, Dave Reese, dropping the hashtag live. He already knows what needs to happen. And that goes for you guys too. If this is the first time on the show or you've been here before, do me a favor, let us know that you are watching by dropping a hashtag live right in the comment section. We have a couple great guests today. Two frequent flyers to the show. We've got Tom Smith and Ruben Guerrero, both in the wind industry for some time, and I'm happy to have them as a part of the discussion today. So let's go ahead and get them introduced. I'm going to bring you in here. Mr. Tom Smith and Ruben Guerrero, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rigo. Thanks for having me. It's good to be back, and forward to another good show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tom, you and I were having this conversation the other day, and then I was chatting with Ruben, and Ruben, you weren't too sure how much you wanted to share. I was like, dude, just get on the show. Just get on the show. And the question was, can we make technicians in the field happy? Right? Is that even possible? And as I started to think about this, because for a few of us, so Ruben, you and I share something in common, and both of us started at the ground level, right? When we came into the industry, we came in on the field side, and it was a little different for us, right? Why don't you give us a little bit your take on that?
Right. So I came in the industry in 2007, and it was, if you guys were around back then, it's pretty crazy. A lot of cowboy tricks going on in 2007. Not a lot of planning. I would say we've come a long way as an industry, especially in the services. So yeah, there was a lot of different things you just had to do. And as a technician, especially coming from the military, it was pretty difficult to make that transition, from being so structured in the military to just get it done kind of thing. So yeah, it was a long journey, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, just because you learn a lot like that and you can relate to what these guys are going through. So I think that's probably the best part about it.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I think it gives you a pretty unique perspective. Tom, your business, ALLTITE, has been focused in specialty tooling, calibration services, torque and tension for years, and you came through in the same way, right? You started in the industry prior to creating your own company to start servicing, airlines, oil, gas, renewable energy. We met almost 12 years ago, you and I, and recently you started building areas of your business that's now handling services to the products that you've always represented. So you're starting to get a whole new perspective yourself from the I would say a felicitator, if that's the right word.
Yeah, so our company specialty has always been in high capacity torque and tension equipment. It's what I've done my entire career. So I've been in the business about 30 years of designing and speccing specialty torque and tension equipment. And we started ALLTITE in 2003 with that goal to assemble full kits. And we started off in oil and gas, downstream, midstream, upstream kind of area. And then around 2008, we started catching wind, pardon the pun, of the new industry. And Ruben's right, it was really pretty nascent back at the time. Nobody knew what they needed. I remember climbing a tower in North Iowa because the guys literally had no idea what bolt torques to go to, what the socket sizes were. I was literally climbed a tower with a tape measure so I could put together a toolkit. That's how they were doing it back in 2009. But being tooling experts, when COVID hit, our customers kind of came to us and said, hey, we love the toolkits, we love the service, we love the calibration, we love all of that, but we'd like you to just do it for us, because we want you to use your software and use your training with your own guys. And so it's been about a couple of years since we started fielding our own technicians. And talk about lessons learned. I mean, keeping the techs happy in the field is a huge concern, from a quality, safety, and profitability standpoint, because you start turning techs a lot. We're bringing guys into the industry and providing training. It starts getting real expensive if you have a lot of turnover, because you're just training and training and training all the time. And then you're bringing new guys in that don't have the experience, and so then you're running the risk of either quality or safety, having the effect. So you want to keep techs happy in the field, and it's a big part of it.
No, absolutely. Ruben, when we were coming up in the industry, what do you think was the biggest challenge? Now, I don't know how you work, but did you travel for your role, or did you work locally?
Yeah, so I was local. Didn't travel until I was a manager, but our challenges was just getting equipment and tooling and things of that nature, and working too many hours. That was the big thing as a commissioner. Service was supposed to go online, and that was the thing, is just working too many hours. I felt like I was traveling because I didn't see anybody when I got home, and I didn't see anybody when I left.
So when you take a look at what we do, okay, there's some unique things to our industry. And we were kind of discussing this. Our industry is, I would have to say, has a high level of regulation, but it almost seems to kind of be off the radar. And there's a parts of it that I think, hey, I'm kind of glad it is. And then there's times where I'm not sure I am. Now, it's been a few years since I was in the field. I did a lot of field for about 7 years before my role started moving me more focused in business development. Interesting enough, today, I have a son that works from the industry, actually works for Tom. Well, Tom's team. And so he's out there representing ALLTITE 5-6 weeks on the road. Now, he loves it. But I'm going to use him as an example, whether he likes it or not. But let's talk about that particular young man. He's about 22 years old. He's about to be in a couple of days. He's ex-military. He was an athlete. And he always wanted to do extreme things, from going into the military and what he wanted to do there. He always dreamed of moving to Alaska. Okay, that was his joke, and just go be a wilderness man. So I started to think about, it seemed a little silly, but I use this as an example because I think about a young man like my son, and I look at that representation. I say, what kind of personality is it that is willing to go work on the road, do things like electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, work in dangerous environments, having to be in a place where you're always needing to be very connected with your PPE, your personal protective equipment, right? And then take that, go on the road, and be able to do this day in and day out, right? I started to see that as, that seems to be more like an extreme type of personality. Would you guys agree, disagree?
Yeah, so part of keeping techs happy in the field includes starting off with the right kind of person as your tech. So when we're advertising our roles on social media, we're trying to expose our ads to people who are explorers and adventurers, and people that like to just like you said, do extreme things. And so if people are attracted to that or have identified likes in their Facebook, then that exposes us to advertise to people like that. So you get the right guy in. And then the other piece of it is the type of personality of the person. You'd think a technician needs to be somebody who can be dedicated and focused for doing, very detail oriented work for long periods of time. And so that's what we started off trying to recruit. What we found out is there's such a social aspect to being a technician that people that have more of an outgoing personality or more of a social individual end up being a much happier technician, because they are working day in and day out, long hours, like what Ruben said, with the same individuals. They're in the same truck with the same individuals. They're in confined spaces with the same individuals, and they're sharing, housing expenses with the same individuals. Well, if you don't like people, man, you're going to be miserable in that position. You're just going to want to go get away and be by yourself and not, just be left alone. And that doesn't make for a happy tech. So we had a lot of turnover for, like engineering or very, black and white type of people that were more introverted. An extroverted person makes a really good tech.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on what Tom said real quick. Now, Tom, I'm thinking you're talking about a traveling technician.
Yeah, that's all we have are traveling tech.
Okay. From an O&M standpoint, an introverted person does the best maintenance. I mean, they probably say 3 words a day: up, down, lunch. I mean, but they do a great job on maintenances. So I think it takes all kinds, but I see what your point is on the road for sure.
And I think that's a good, clear separation, right? That we should identify. And that was the question, techs in the field, but we didn't define that. So let's do that. I mean, really, let's define that. Listen, we would love to hear from you if you're watching right now. Again, this is Lunch Talk. I'm Rigo Murillo, your host. I'm joined today by 2 special guest hosts, Ruben Guerrero, Tom Smith, both in the wind industry. And this is specifically what we're discussing today. So sometimes we get into other industries, but we're talking about renewable energy. We're talking about our field of where we're at. And it's interesting right now, as we're seeing a lot of growth in our particular sector of the industry and a need for technicians, a massive need for technicians. What does that mean? And so if you want to join the discussion, let us know. Do us a favor, drop something in the chat. Let us, let us see what your thoughts are on it. Give us some questions and we're happy to get into it. Also, if you are watching right now and you're watching this live, do us a favor, #live, and we'll put some stuff in the comments. If you want to know more about the folks that we have on today, Ruben and Tom, go ahead and check them out on LinkedIn, and we'll make sure to get their profiles posted so you can follow them as well and see what they're up to. So Donnie found something funny for me here that I wanted to share with you. Don, where'd that study come from? We'll have to put up where. I always like that. So next time, be ready, huh? No, I'm just messing with you. So a study found that in veterans filling roles, here's what's interesting. Veterans fill 6% of total workforce jobs. But what I thought was fairly interesting was if veterans fill 6% of total workforce jobs, to see that they fill over 10% of the nation's advanced energy jobs. So that would be roles like in renewable energy. The last time I saw a study on this, it looked as if it was much higher than 10%, specifically in wind. And I'll have to go back and see if I can't find it. You look at the military type of personality, and then you look at guys out in the field. Tom, right now, what types of personalities, like if you look at your company, fall into this? How much military tend to seem to be attracted to the jobs that both internally and externally within your company? I'm curious about this.
Well, we really lean into veterans. We have a lot of success both for calibration technicians and for wind turbine technicians. In fact, I would say our workforce is probably well over 25% veterans. And so we also give everybody a paid day off on Veterans Day, just to honor those that have served. And it's been a really great source of talent for us.
So this is something that you said you lean on pretty heavily yourself, Ruben, in your experience. I mean, you're a president today of a spare parts aftermarket company. You don't need a whole lot of folks in this type of a business, and you don't need a lot of guys going into the field. But this role and the role prior, what about yourself?
So as far as veterans, we probably need the expert, and that man's Grant Johnson over at Airstreams, and he loves the Marines, and I really didn't understand why he loved the Marines, being an Air Force guy. And now that my son's a Marine, I understand why he likes Marines, because when they get out of the Marines or the service, how many Marines do you know that own their own company? They're self-starters. They really very rarely need to be told what to do. You just give them an assignment and watch those guys go. So that's pretty much what a wind tech needs to do. You give them their plan of the day, and you're not going to go up tower with them as their manager. They're going to take care of business, and unless you climb that tower to see what they did, you're really not going to know what happened. So that's the benefit I see with the vets, and integrity and other things too. But that self-starter, being able to manage yourself wisely throughout the day with low supervision is a perk for me.
Another thing, Ruben, that we found is people that are coming out of the services are used to being told on Monday, hey, pack your bags, you're going to Wyoming for the next 6 weeks, and having the flexibility or the mental fortitude to be able to deploy or mobilize out on a moment's notice to react to customer demands. A lot of people just can't handle that kind of instability. And, if somebody's used to being deployed out or moved to this base, to that base, then they come back and they get into civilian life and they continue with that constant redeployment. It's not hard for them to understand that lifestyle.
I could see that, especially as your whole team is pretty much travel guys, so that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, let's talk about travel, because that's the number one reason that so let me back up for a second. When a tech leaves us for any reason, what we do is we've got this service that we do where it's an exit interview, where the technician will fill out an entire exit interview questionnaire, and then the answers remain hidden and anonymous until everything gets paid out to the technician, and then the technician can release the information, so that we really get a lot of honest responses. So most of the time when somebody leaves, the number one reason that we get is the travel, and so we try to head that off. The very first thing that we say when people come and are talking to us about coming to work is, we can't emphasize enough how much travel this is. And we even give them examples. If you're used to watching Monday Night Football with your buddies and barbecuing every Monday, that's not going to happen anymore. If you like to go to your parents' house with your kids on Saturdays, that's not going to happen. You're literally going to be gone for 5 straight weeks and we try to explain what that is and get them across what that is. And then they see that money, that dollar per hour, and they're like, hey, that's no problem. That's no problem. Sign me up, sign me up. And then once they start walking the walk, it starts dragging them down, you know, and some guys, they'll only last 6 or 8 months because they can't handle it. So,
oh, dude, yeah. And that's the same thing when people are like, I can work from home. Like, think about it. It is not easy to be on the road. You're right, Tom. Like, oh yeah, I can travel. It sounds fun. Well, do it day in and day out. And I think that's what it gets, you know, I started that way for years. That was my career. And I remember when I talked to my wife about it, my oldest son was about 1.5 when we started traveling. But here's what I had to, I was that guy, right? I was the weird guy that had his entire house in the back of his pickup. That was me. But the thing was, I tried doing it for 6 months. I was working in power plants down in Arizona. And I tried to do this from a perspective where I would come home every couple months, you know, and I was like, nope. But I didn't leave the industry because I knew that there was no better way for me at that time. There was no better way for me to advance in my career than to travel. Because I'll tell you this, travel techs get a lot more hands-on, a lot more experience, a lot more exposure. I'm going to share something, Tom, that you gave us. It's a link here. I want to pull this up. And so I want to go over it here in a second, but I thought it was really interesting because I would take my family with me. And I noticed the ones that seem to do really well, these are the guys that have like the RVs, right? They're like professional travelers. Their whole family come with them. They're homeschooling kids in the, you know, at the RV park kind of a thing. They do their job. They go and they run for 6 months, 8 months. When season goes down, they just roll up, right? And they take the break. Do we see that here in wind? Have you guys noticed that type of personality? Tom, I don't know. You're more active now.
yeah. So I think 5 of our guys have campers and bring their families along. And usually what we do, so we have everybody based in Wichita.
Okay.
So that, you know, we've got everybody coming and going from here. It makes it really easy for travel and consolidating expenses. But the guys that have the campers that take their family, they get the furthest jobs away from Wichita assigned to them. So when we've got a job out in California, we send the campers out, you know, because it's not that they're not needing to get back and forth to Wichita if they've got everything in tow.
That makes a lot of sense.
So one of the things that our company does that I think is unique, maybe other people are doing it, I'm not sure, but we have an R&R rotation where our guys work for 5 straight weeks. And if they do that, then the 6th week, we pay them for that week and give them the time off. So they get a paid week off every 6 weeks. So when you get that 5 days paid, plus the weekends on the end, every 5 weeks, you're getting a, would that be 9-day long vacation, which is long enough to go do anything, travel anywhere, see whatever, come back home. But nine days is a lot, and we're paying the guys. So I think it's a really generous way to compensate these guys for the extra work that it takes to go out and work 5 straight weeks in some place that usually isn't a place you want to be.
No, with a lot of these industries, right? I don't care if it's wind, oil, gas, solar, any sort of industrial, it's always out in the middle of nowhere. Now, I'm not saying anything to those who live there, but right. I yeah, totally get it. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Ruben, jump in anytime, man. I don't want to, hopefully Tom and I aren't scaring you.
I think Tom's probably got more experience right now with what's going on to that question. I ran a travel group for a little bit at my former company, so I get it. I mean, we did six week rotations of R&R, and some guys didn't want it. Some guys would be like, "No, I'm good. Send this guy." So I was checking out the comments though, if you don't mind.
No, let's.
A.E. Bailey posted something pretty funny.
Okay.
because I made a comment about. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that one right
Yeah.
there. You'll know
Yeah.
what they
I made a
did
comment
if
about
you
we
get
really can't check on them or see what they did, and he said, obviously you can if it faults. So that's a good point. I was mainly talking about maintenances. So, but yeah, troubleshooting crew, you pretty much know what they're doing.
Let's see here. Let me try to pull this up. Fastest growing and declining jobs. Who's got this shared? Donnie, is that you? Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and see. Can we
Scroll
Yeah,
down just a little bit.
There you go. Go ahead and see if we can't open it up. I'm going to just pull this all the way over here. And let's see if we can't get a little bit of a better shot. Can you zoom in a little, Donnie? So if you guys don't know, Donnie, the Donnie Morello, is our show's producer and director. And because he happens to also be one of my sons, I hired him pretty damn cheap. There we go. You guys see this all right?
Yeah, so you can see they're predicting 70% increase in wind turbine service technicians over the next 10 years.
Okay, that's 7-0.
70% increase.
Now, do we have 70% available? I mean, is that much of the where even out there? Where are they getting this 70% number from?
It's from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Interesting.
If you scroll down just a little bit more, you can see here a little bit more. Okay, there. That's annual wage, right? So the more in demand the job becomes and the more demand there are for technicians, the more that those jobs are going to be sliding out to the right on the y-axis here. I mean, unless the free market system stops working.
Well, we have a whole different problem at that point.
Yes.
Interesting. That is really interesting data.
Now, if you scroll down even more, you can see what positions you don't want to be in. Nuclear power reactor operators. That's a dying breed right there.
Wait, so am I seeing florist? My dream to start my flower and gun shop called Guns and Roses, is it out?
Yeah, too bad, man.
Dude, that's my retirement plan. I think it's
And
a
then
great
look
idea.
at that big purple dot, executive secretary and administrative assistants. They've been replaced by this.
Yep.
Yeah, or virtual admins, man. VAs. I got a lot of other business owners that have moved into that. I mean, you could pick up a VA for $6-7 an hour. It's incredible. Wow, that is some really, really interesting data. Go back up to the WindTech side. I thought that was really good. Now, what was the time frame they said, Tom?
The next decade.
Okay. Well,
So
that would make sense if we think about how many wind farms have been getting installed. Now, that's here just in the U.S.
Yeah, it's just for the U.S. And we've got the coming offshore wind that haven't really kicked off big time yet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're going to have to staff guys for that. I mean, some of these new towers are going to be 700 feet tall. I mean, you can't free climb that. I mean, there's going to have to be some kind of way to do that, because if you had to free climb 700 feet, you'd have to spend an entire hour just recovering from the climb before you could start working.
Dude. Yeah. Well, I mean, think about some of the offshore. They're that big. We've got helipads on some of these, apartments in them, right? You're absolutely right. A lot of the aspect is changing. But again, here's what I keep going back to is who's actually understanding the psychology of that individual. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I never imagined when I got in this industry, I didn't think about it. I needed a job. The market had turned, the recession hit. I just needed to do something for my family. Little did I ever think that this industry would give me more opportunity than ever before. That's the one thing I don't really believe we talk enough about. There are so many companies that have expanded how they do business now, analytics and engineering and research and management. And I mean, so if you're a people person, there's places for you. If you're looking to become, in sales and marketing, there's incredible areas to grow there. There's, especially when it comes to innovation. My goodness, is this an industry that isn't always constantly challenging how we do things and trying to grow with, what we're doing in the energy industry? Now we're seeing a whole new level of stuff. We were talking here just the other week to our friends over at Beehive Live, and they're bringing a technician marketplace into the industry. So you can just go online and shop for techs.
Wow, Brenda Tech.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's I don't want to speak too much on a business that we barely touched into, and
what's the name of that business again?
Beehive Live. Yeah, that's our boys, Dave and Paul. Dave and Paul have been they've been a Lunch Talk fan from day one. But yeah, these guys they've got a great platform, and what they're doing, it's really interesting. So how they're bringing this product to market. And if you think about it, this would have been a crazy concept 10 years ago. I think that's the thing that I'm loving the most is I'm watching innovation, and I'm watching people coming in from different areas, whether they were a part of this industry or something else. Tom, I've watched you do it. I've watched you always want to be a part of it, right? Dave says, and the opportunities are still coming here. I'll put you on there, Dave. Give you a little shout out. Dave Reese, the CEO of Beehive Live. But I've watched you do the same thing. COVID hits, and I watched you do exactly what entrepreneurs are supposed to do. You became innovative, creative, and just like that, you offered 50 more jobs into the economy. So while a market's getting scared, you figured out a way to take that, offer a solution to the market, and bring on 40, 50 more people, paying for them, giving them opportunity to feed their family, to grow their own career. This is the kind of stuff that I love about it. But then when I want to look at the psychology of a technician, I wonder. So, when we used to run sometime back, 2010, 11, 12, I worked for a company. At that time, they were Avalon, and we used to have quite a few guys in the field. And these guys that we had in the field, they were challenged with a lot at that time that was going on. And one of the things that we found is even when we did everything we could to make their life good, we still had a 20-25% annual loss. And at first I was being challenged with that. And what I've come to realize is this seems to be normal across the board. Every year there's a cycle change, and you get about an 18 or 24 month life to a traveling technician. Here's what I want to know. These are not data facts. These are Rigo Murillo's personal opinion coming from my own experience and putting some gut check to it. If you've got service teams now, if you're out there running groups, I would love to know what your thoughts. I'm sure Tom would love to know. We'd really like to hear what your thoughts are on it, because, are we the only ones seeing this? And I don't mean we as in you, Tom. You have to speak on your own. But is this something you see as well? You see an average turnaround on an annual basis around 25%, and always right around Christmas time?
Yeah, always at the end of the R&R cycle too.
Yeah.
So we would say that when I was running the mobile teams with GES, we would say you'd be doing good if you got 2 to 4 years out of a mobile technician.
Okay.
So that's kind of my gut check back to you. That was what we wanted.
wasn't far off then.
No.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what I thought, So I don't know. Can we make them happy? Are we, or can we just set standards that say, hey, we appreciate what you do. Here's how we're going to take care of you. And then just understand where the statistics are. The other part is there's so much we have to do for these guys. Is the market even in a position that can pay for what we really need to be able to do, right?
So my 2 cents on this is that you're not going to make everybody happy. There's no way around that. When I was a technician, I was happiest when I was able to fix something that nobody else could fix. So to me, that was probably when I felt like I was useful and fulfilled. So none of these guys want to go to work and do a bad job. You just have to find out what they like to do and, work to that and work to their strengths. Sometimes we have to do stuff we don't want to do. That's life. So when it comes to being happy, I think you do your job as a manager. You take care of your guys. You make sure that they're safe. The quality's where it needs to be. Your customer's happy. And then we can talk about, being happy. But there's times that you're going to do stuff that you don't want to do. That's my 2 cents. I think if you know your people, if you're talking to your guys out there, they're going to tell you. They're going to talk to you. They're going to trust you. And I think that's the key to these guys, especially the guys on the road, because sometimes you feel like you're on an island and that your manager's not accessible. So, Tom, you look, you want to say a lot.
Yeah. So the other piece of it is everybody's responsible for their own happiness. So if we set the stage for these guys, they've got a safe environment. They're getting well paid. They're getting their time off. Their work instructions are clear. Their pathway and career path forward are clear. If you do a good job, you will get promoted. And we do all of these things to set the table, but it's up to the individual to own their own happiness. If you're miserable, you don't have anyone to blame but yourself. So if you have something that's, because a lot of these techs, it's just those little annoying things. It just seems like it just gets them, and then they get wrapped around the axle about some kind of a stupid thing. But if they don't raise the flag and say, hey, man, this is really pissing me off, then we don't know how to guess at how to fix something like that. So there needs to be some self-accountability in the technicians to own their own role and their own happiness and to be able to raise the flag. I'll give you an example of sometimes these guys can't help themselves. We provided climb assists for a bunch of technicians, and 2 weeks later they come back in and they lost half of them. We bought 8 climb assists at $500 each, and they came back $2,000 short on climb assist. So I mean, that doesn't make the company real motivated to do nice things to keep people happy in the field if their people aren't helping themselves.
That's yeah. Go ahead, Ruben. Jump in, man. Go ahead.
Just to add to that, you said something, Tom, that made a lot of sense. Is that we're responsible for our own happiness, and you have to know yourself a little bit when it comes to what you're getting yourself into. And I knew myself, and I knew my family that there was no way I was going to travel. The reason I got out of the military is because I was doing too much of those deployments. So that wasn't going to happen. I knew I wasn't going to be happy. So that wasn't for me. And I interviewed at a couple of jobs. They're like, well, we're going to put you on the road for a little bit, and then we'll get you a local site. I'm like, I can't do that. I just knew better. So that's all I wanted to add to that.
No, but again, this kind of goes back to what Tom had mentioned, some of the things that they got, right? The positive stuff they're getting out of guys from the military. What I was making comments to that, it's when you look at all the data, Erica dropped something here. I'm going to bring it up. I thought that was pretty interesting. Wind industry also employs veterans at a rate of 67% higher than the national average. Truth. Right. So there's I think a lot of this stuff coincides with the type of work we do. And we're talking about guys in the field. That's really what it is. You know, I think it's 70, 80%. Most companies run a 1 to 9 or 2 to 8 average for field guys versus support, right? So for every 8 or 9 folks in the field, there's usually one support person in a back office. So the reality is that technicians really do make up, they are the bloodline of what we do. Now, we have tons of different focuses in our industry. We are in the energy industry. It's a renewable energy, but we're in an energy industry. So we have all kinds of support systems from, I mean, look what we got here. We have services, we have specialty tooling, we have spare parts, aftermarket solutions, engineering services, just right here on the call, people that are jumping in, offering other types of services to help solve problems. Myself, my company, media, sales, marketing, right? So again, all of us are helping build this industry, but the blood, right, that pumps and keeps this industry going are the technicians. And right now it seems like there's a shortage of work everywhere. Now, we've talked about this. I think this is a bigger, larger issue on why we seem to have a shortage, or it could be a combination of something that's happening globally at the same time that our industry is booming. Tom, you just shared some crazy facts. We're talking about the fastest growing, and within the next decade, the amount of technicians are going to be needed. And that's coming right from the Department of Labor. So they're usually conservative in their numbers. If I have seen other things from them before, I don't know.
And you're adding another, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but
that's the whole point. Interrupt me, man. If
you're
you
adding,
I'm gonna jet.
You're adding another safety hazard when you put it in the water. So, you've got 300, now we're talking 700 feet, or 690 volts, confined space, and water.
Yeah, so that's where I stop. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like heights, but I did it. You add heights and sharks, I'm good. I'm good.
So
I'm only gonna give myself so many risk points. Like that's when I go, nah, I'm all right.
So we might be talking about another level of person here.
Yeah.
I mean, we just described a Navy SEAL, basically.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe we're about to see. That's exactly right. I mean, think about it. I remember being in a position where you have to think about guys like you can't be claustrophobic. You got to be able to work with other people in confined space. And I don't mean the not everything is the technical term. And so excuse me if I say it. I'm not talking about the OSHA standard of a confined space. I'm talking about that other dude is in my bubble, and we are working very, very closely. And we're working in areas with exposed hazards, because that's the nature of what we're doing. We have cabinets that have transformers, and they're there. You can't kill everything. Otherwise, you would have no power and you can't work. So you just understand the risks. And I think our industry has done an incredible job. When you look at the age of our industry in comparison to others, and you look at the amount of incidents that happen in comparison, I think it's pretty incredible. You know what we'll have to do? We're going to have to get some real good EHS guys that really are out there to jump on these types of calls. Listen, if you're in that piece of the business, we'd love to hear from you. You should drop something in the chat, because the truth is, I think we don't give this industry enough credit at how large of a safety culture we are providing in the industry, right? Tom, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game. Twice a year, we have a big safety stand down. So we stand down all of our crews, bring them back into Wichita, and do an intensive 1-week training. Then obviously you've got your daily JSAs. Then you've got the recurring training that happens. Now we're moving everybody to GWO training, which is kind of next level. So we're bringing on, and then, every time we add service scope capabilities, then there's another piece of training that goes on. So, as time goes on, these guys have really had a lot invested in them specifically for their own safety. And so, we've got a very robust safety program with a full-time safety manager who's just doing this 100%, because we want everybody everybody to come home whole.
Of course. And I don't think any industry wants anybody hurt, right? But I think the biggest thing is we are so dependent on ourselves in this industry. We're so dependent on ourselves for self-rescue. I would assume a lot of guys in these areas that are probably, I don't know a lot about some of the oil gas type facilities or mining, but when I think about areas that are more of an extreme, like, look at the similarities of renewable energy. If anything happens, you can't just call the local fire department. They're not just going to jump in, grab a harness, and go and jump up there and help you. So, I remember that was probably one of the biggest things about our training that we would do, is understanding just how important you needed to know what had to be done and looking out for the safety of each other, protecting the guy next to you. Even if you didn't like him, it didn't matter, because once you go up tower, dude, if something happens to you, you better have a safety culture that says you're going to protect each other. I mean, am I nuts? I mean, right? That's what I remember.
I mean, that's the way you and your partner are. I mean,
Yeah.
Your partner is the one that's going to take care of you when that happens, or vice versa. So absolutely, there's a lot of self-aid, buddy care stuff that goes on too.
So we have someone reaching out who wanted to jump on. Let's see. Did we send them the link? Okay. Do you need me to send it? Listen, if you guys like what we're talking about, you want to be part of the show, we're happy to bring you in, especially if someone on the show knows you. Not gonna lie. I don't know. If you're gonna risk.
Yeah, I don't know if Mark Sampson is out there trying to get in. He'd have a lot to say to this conversation, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear from him. So we'll send you either Donnie or Erica will send it to you in the private chat, so we can give you the link. You can jump in. I can send it, Donnie. If you need me, just let me know. We got a few more minutes left before we jump off. So Mark, yeah, by all means, man, we'd love to get you on. We'd love to get you here and get your opinion on it. So I'll just take a moment to kind of plug here. If you are new to Lunch Talk, listen, we'd love to hear from you. We always want to hear your comments. We definitely want to know your thoughts on this stuff, but also we have a process we use through community, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to put you on our contact list. So all you do for that is you just text #lunch, LUNCH, to 316-799-8052. 316-799-8052. What that does is that puts you into our community. It's real simple, man. It's a cell phone app. It's just like Messenger or text, but the difference is I can let you guys all know at the same time, unless you're international. I have not solved that problem yet. So it's just North America, but we like to let you guys know. We usually text and, hey, we're getting ready to go in. So AB says he'd be happy to show up. So I'll send you something. Hold on. Let's get a couple guys on real quick before we go, and we'll get your opinion. I'm going to send some stuff over through your private chat. So, Tom, why don't you go ahead and help me fill in the gap while I send these guys a link?
All right. Well, yeah, thanks for that. So one other thing that we've found that helps technicians stay engaged is trying to reduce the amount of paperwork and detail-oriented paperwork and filling out forms and doing all of that. So what we've been trying to do is move all of the data collecting and end-of-day reports and all of that stuff, and then migrate that to apps on their phones so that they can spend less time of their day doing actual paperwork and then getting that onto a digital twin so that they could do something a lot faster and easier. And it just feels like if you're filling out a checkbox on an app and then you hit submit, that's just a lot better. So we've got app-based time clocks. So the guy can just pull out his phone and clock in and clock out. so that there's not anything more with that. And then that allows us on the backside to track labor hours by the project, so we can start to, maintain our own profitability. So having the guys understand the role of profitability and, being efficient, and then giving them the tools to do that helps with job satisfaction, I would imagine.
What's funny is, haven't anyone else noticed the guys that don't mind doing paperwork, like myself, we become supervisors, right? The guys that like doing the paperwork, they end up becoming supervisors or managers. The guys that really like getting stuff fixed. But I think you nailed something there. These guys,
Man,
they don't like doing paperwork.
where was this back in 2008? I hate paperwork. That's cool.
How'd you
good.
make it up to the top then? That completely throws my entire synopsis out of the window.
I did it. It doesn't mean I didn't do it. I just
There it
didn't
is.
like it.
It's because you're smarter than the average bear. So, all right. So, AB, Mark, both of you guys, I've sent you guys link. If you jump in, great. We got a few more minutes left before we wrap it up. I would love for you guys to jump in and we get your take on this. So, our discussion today was, can we make techs happy in the field? I believe that we can as much as we cannot. And here's why I say that. My thoughts are, it's about properly setting the expectation and standard. See, you nailed something, Ruben. We can never make everybody happy. You're right. We can't. But can we set standards that everybody can follow? And I think we're still kind of chasing, what does that standard look like? And right as we start to set some sort of precedence in our industry, there's a boom and then something changes. And now as companies, we're having to chase around technicians and see who can be better at making them feel more special, because we always seem to have a supply and demand problem. Am I close to something here, Tom? Maybe? No?
Yeah, I don't know. What would you say, Ruben?
I mean, as far as the problem, I'm not sure because I'm not on that side of the business right now. But to what Rigo was saying on his yes and no happiness, the feedback, you got to be there for them. You got to give them feedback. They are your number one asset if you're in the service business. So the best thing you can do is give them their feedback, tell them how they're doing, tell them what they need to work on, and support them. I mean, they're the backbone of your company.
No, and when I say this, Tom, is I figured, if we look at it, if we could work as an industry, I believe, to set expectations and standards, then it goes to the comment you said, which it all comes down to them. Are you willing to do what you need to do that's necessary to make this a good place for you? Right? Because if you're a traveling technician, man, you have an incredible opportunity to build up some wealth and income, but it's a travel job. So you have to know that this is an investment of your time, and this is not normal living standards, right? Well, I got paid at this, at so and such. I remember, again, I used to travel and I'd do jobs 4, 5, 6 months for I'd work 7/12s with per diem. Like, I didn't see anybody for 6 months, but I'd make a year's salary in 6 months. And so at the same time, what did that matter? All right, we got AB. Let's bring him in. There he is. There's a man. Let's go ahead and give us a sound check. We got you on, Mr. Bailey. Oh, thank you, Donnie. About time.
You got me?
We got you. So what's your thoughts on our conversation?
To build great techs, I know when I came over here to System 1 in 2019, we were trying to change the culture. A lot of it had to do with having a great lead and building around that lead. But to do so, we had to come up with incentives. Instead of doling out money when they had a great site, would deal out, little backpacks with personalized names, solar battery packs, stuff like that. But techs in the end, it takes a certain type of person and a certain type of wife and girlfriend that deal with techs traveling so much. We as a company can only do so much.
Dude, you just nailed something we didn't even touch.
Oh yeah. It takes a strong woman. It takes a strong woman.
Dude, that is exact. We didn't even touch that. We didn't even touch that. You're absolutely right. Go ahead, continue. I like where this is going.
I talked to Neil Jing. Neil's a very good friend of mine. We talk weekly. I've known Neil since 2008, I think it was, about techs in the field. Most of my guys would have in the field. They like me more than just the white collar manager because I used to be a tech. I know everything they're doing. I know everything that they are going through. Yeah. That helps a lot when you're trying to relate, and it helps a lot to understand what they're going through personally, to help to just let a guy go home and just reset. Yes, I'm gonna eat costs on the back end with the plane ticket, but $300 to make a guy happy and reset, vice versa, losing a contract because this guy is unhappy. I'll eat. That's justified costs all day long.
You know, it's funny. This goes to, I think this is what I love about one of the things that Tom does. He mentioned it earlier with his text. I don't know anybody that's done this, but they do on their rotation, very few, but they give them paid R&R. So they get that week, they go back home. And like you said, they're getting 9 days or more, depending on when they drug up.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it does. I can tell you, as my son today is now a technician in the field, we always look forward to it. I can plan around it. Sometimes he may have to stay longer, but nobody cares because he's going to get enough time. He goes out, he flies out to see his buddies, or he'll go visit family, but we can plan around it. And then he goes back to work. It's a hell of a lot better than our time when we would see him in the military. I couldn't see him for 8 months, 9 months,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I haven't seen that much with other companies. I used to work with Ellen Wind Power, and they had the same structure of each week that you were away, you were paid 1 day. And it helped a lot. We're trying to get there as a company. If you don't know, System One Services is primarily a recruiting company. My division is all wind energy and solar. We do everything from construction to blades. A large portion of our workforce is blade techs, about probably 65%, 70% out of 200 techs, usually in the high season. So it's definitely tough trying to justify that cost. And I see it now that I'm in this position to see what it actually costs to get a tech in the field from when I was just a technician.
Yeah, it changed money. That's right. It changes the perspective, doesn't it? That's what Tom and I were just talking about. So Mark, you were making some comments. Thanks for wanting to be on the show.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Tom.
Welcome to Lunch Talk, man.
Yeah, nice. It's a little hard getting on here, but so I didn't catch the gentleman who was just talking. He said he was with System One, which is where I was for almost 9 years. So I know he's in good hands. Yeah, I know you're in good hands over there. Yeah, and I've been seeing. I remember going. The last event I went to before COVID hit was the safety show in San Diego.
Yeah,
and I remember Sean Melander stepped up to the dais from Vestas, and he said they were looking for 600 wind techs.
Oh yeah, was there too.
It was almost like, and I think he said, and maybe I heard it wrong, he didn't even care if they had experience or not. He just needed bodies. I mean, it's that tough, Yeah. And then obviously things with COVID hit, and a lot of things have changed. But Tom, I gotta just say, I've always been impressed with ALLTITE. You and I have a relationship now for years, but what you're doing as far as giving veterans the day off on Veterans Day and giving them that, a week paid, after every 5 weeks, that's really how it has to happen. And the fact that you're doing it is only going to bode well for you guys, because what I'm hearing, and I'm sure the gentleman that was just speaking. I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but
AB Bailey.
AB. It's like trust is everything, and how you treat it is everything. So whether you're a wind tech going from job to job, or you're a direct hire, working, as a site manager, whatever it is, if you don't feel like you're being taken care of, you're looking for your next opportunity. That's what I'm getting, And so, ALLTITE has an amazing reputation. And so, and System One has a great reputation. I mean, honestly, like I remember when I was there were a lot of techs I would call, and they would say, I'm only taking your call because you're with System One. So, AB, you're in good hands there. And just to give you a little background, I recently went on my own, started my own company called Solar Boy. I actually took the name from my son, who was using it from a creative. He's a musician, and he doesn't like the name. I said, Jack, I'm taking the name over. So anyway, so I've been helping out some clients with some wind techs, and Tom, I'll call you after this event here. But I feel like it was mentioned, there's so much growth opportunity in wind specifically. Yeah. And the need obviously for technicians is probably never greater than today. So it's really going to be about taking care of them, knowing that even if they are a contract worker for a particular project, that they're going to be treated like they're a direct hire, and then if there's opportunity, obviously, and I tell my technicians, treat every day like it's a job interview. Like if you don't think people are looking, I say people are looking at you. They're watching. Me. Yeah, they're watching. They're watching, and the best call I get from my clients is no call. I mean, that's when I don't hear from my clients, I know everything is good. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, so. You said a lot of great things there, Mark, and I, when Ruben and I got into the industry, we came in 2007, 2008. This was happening again then. So there was literally the reason why I had an opportunity. I don't know about Ruben. Ruben probably had something to offer. For me, I was coming out of something completely different, and I just needed another way out. And the company at that time, they were willing to hire me out of California, give me some type of sign-on bonus because I was broke and I needed to negotiate that so I could actually move my family. I didn't want to tell them I had no money, but I'd run dry, right? Recession hit. They flew my entire family out, moved us and put us into Iowa. And it was the beginning of what I saw was this huge boom. So what I think as employers, business owners, and recruiters like yourselves, there is a high demand for technicians. Now, here's what I think we need, or I think technicians need to be aware of. This is going to balance out. And so now is the time for them, like you said, Mark, this is their time to build their calling card, their reputation, so to speak, because this is also a very small industry. And it is, look what's happening right here. All of us are connecting on something as simple as, LinkedIn. We're going to get to know each other. It's not going to take a whole lot for us to make a couple calls to find out if somebody's worth putting our name behind or not.
Yeah.
100%.
Right? You can't burn bridges here and hide. Once you do it a couple times, well, you might as well go work somewhere else. What do we say, Tom? A barista? Is that? So anyways, listen, I thought it was a great conversation. Tom and I were spending some time together yesterday and we had talked about it, and I wanted to bring it up, and I thought it was a good conversation. And I think there's a lot more coming. There's got to be better groups and organizations that this is what they do. But myself personally, the psychology of the individual that is going to be the type of tech, right? The type of person that would work in our industry is different and unique. Dave Reese says techs were in demand in 1995, same in 2005. Yeah, you're right. And in 2015, it would be the same in 2035. Yeah, there's definitely a run and a cycle, and this runs right in line with what Tom brought out as an article that he got from the Department of Labor. So anyways, I want to be aware of everybody's time. Thank you guys for joining the Lunch Talk episode. So again, our guests, Tom, Ruben, Dave, excuse me, Dave's commenting so much, he's like a guest. But, Mark and AB, you guys, thank you so much. Always appreciate having our guests on and guest hosts. You guys, please know this. When we get off, end the show and the broadcast, by all means, stay on. I'll chat with you guys after if you want to stay. If you got to go, you got to go. For those of you watching, the best way to find out when we go live is, do me a favor, just hashtag lunch, 316-799-8052. We're going to do this every week. Typically, our day is Wednesday is when we've been going live. I don't know if you guys like Thursday better. Let us know. We're going to follow your lead, and we're always going to try to bring topics that matter to you most in the industry. And we're always going to want to focus on leadership, development, mentorship. We want to see our industry get stronger, better, and we want to give people an opportunity to chat and talk just like this, like as we would around the water cooler. So again, you guys, thank you so much for being here. And we hope to catch you next week. Outside of that, yeah, thanks for being on Lunch Talk, you guys. And you guys, thanks for watching. Let us know, like, share, subscribe. Do us a favor, get to our YouTube page, and you can find us there. Subscribe, smash the like button, notifications, so that you know the next time we drop something for you. So anyways, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.